everybody, Mirrodin Gaming here, and we're in one of my all-time favorite games, Elite Dangerous. If you're lucky enough to have the Epic Games launcher or whatever you call that system, it's very similar to Steam. You were actually able to pick this up for free. Right now they're doing a sale on Steam for $7. So you can pick up this great game for really cheap. They've discounted it because they're about to release a new DLC, so it's a great time to catch this really cheap, even if you're not going to get the new DLC. Although the new DLC adds the ability to walk around your ship and get outside the ship with your actual player character or walk around your ship. So that's going to be really cool. We're not exactly sure exactly how in depth that's going to be, but anyway, the base game with the original DLC, which is included in the base game now, is still really fun to play even if you don't have that. But anyway, I've restarted my game. I do have my main account off on the side as well to do some of the more high-end tutorials if we need to. But we're starting off in the lovely little Sidewinder, the first ship that everyone receives. I've already done the couple tutorial missions that they start you off with, and then I have selected the all-rounder Sidewinder because you have two choices when you complete those missions. You have the all-rounder or the planetary. For me, the Sidewinder is not the best option for planetary. I prefer the Cobra actually as my next buy if possible. But anyway, let's get into the ships a little bit. So let me go out of ship view. There we go. Okay, so there's a few different ways to make money in this game. So we'll go ahead and go over a few different options. The first one would be trading. Now you can do missions where you trade stuff to get money, but you can also just trade straight materials if you know what you're doing. Now, it's going to be kind of confusing at first. The first thing you have is, of course, the name of the resource, and then also what it falls under. Like these are the chemicals. Then you have supply, buy, um, and the galactic average of how much stuff sells for. So that kind of gives you an idea of one option. You can just basically buy them from one place and sell them on another. Now what you can use is a website called eddb.io. That's E as in Edgar, D as in dog, D as in dog, B as in boy, dot, or period, I as in Icarus, O as in octopus. In fact, let me give you a little bit of a preview of it, assuming this actually works with my game recording software. So basically what this does is it has a lot of information and people can report information to it to kind of give you different things. And if you're doing trading, what you want to look at is either multi-hop routes, single hop routes, or loops. Now what I prefer is loops. And basically what you do is you can hop between a couple different stations even if they're fairly far away. And it will allow you to get the best resources that you can use and sell them from one station to another, and then typically one side of the loop is you get a whole lot more money than you do from the other side, but the way coming back is typically something cheap, but it basically covers your fuel or something like that. But just to kind of give you an idea, you basically kind of pick where you're at or your location, your max hop distance. Basically, that's how far your ship can go, which we'll discuss later. And then you can kind of custom tailor it, which I'll do a tutorial on actual trading later to kind of give you an idea of how this exactly works. But basically, you put in your information, it will spit out, like I'll just put in, I can't remember what station I'm at, but one of my favorites is Limbava. That's a really good place because you can get, once you get allied with them, it will give you cheaper ships. So if you're allied with systems that have certain benefits, you can get cheaper ships. So like this, it kind of gives me, and it just spits out just different stuff. Of course, we'd have to tailor this to whatever ship we're using. In fact, you should be able to tell it how much you. Maybe not. I think they've changed it a little bit. But anyway, Yeah, so that kind of gives you an option to do trading. And that gives you just a little bit of a idea of how that works. All right, so the other option you have, come on, exit, there we go, is missions. Now, missions can fall under a bunch of different types of things, uh, depending on what you want to do. You've got mining, you've got source and return, so that's kind of similar to trading. Encrypted data storage salvage operation. This is where you try to go out to a specific point and find the data and bring it back. Um, Courier. Now, this is what I prefer to do starting off, just because this doesn't require any cargo space. It's just data. You just have to take it to a specific place. And look at these. There's two of these they're going to the same spot. That's also something you want to look at when you're doing missions. Like something that goes all to the same spot means you don't have to, fly all around the galaxy to try to get money. Then we have stuff like these, which are kind of piratey missions. You're liberating two encrypted correspondents. That means you typically have to go take out a ship or something. The massacre, that is where you're going in and you're fighting, for, in this instance, pirates. These are a little bit more difficult in the starting ships. You really want to outfit your ship quite a bit better. But depending on where it's at, sometimes there's even security vessels that will assist you with this. And then we've got takedowns. Now these are where you go after a specific person. You have to pay attention to these though, and we'll go over that in a separate tutorial. Um, and then interact with a data hub. This is a thing where you go out and scan. If you notice this little symbol right here, you got to pay attention to this. This is a planetary symbol. So that means you actually have to land on a planet and go find this, which we'll go more into that later. But then you also have um, somewhere you can just donate money or donate resources. Those give you the best influence, which is what this faction reputation up here on the right is. The faction reputation, the higher it is, as you notice, there's one that I don't have access to. This requirement's not met. It's because my reputation with this faction is not high enough. So you notice there's tiers. So that's why I was saying allied. Remember that part? That's when you're all the way up here in this far right. You get a lot of benefits based on that. You get higher payouts and more access to different missions. And then depending on the system, station, and faction, you even get discounts on uh, equipment and ships. But yeah, and then typically there's multiple factions, but since we're in the starting area, we don't have that many options. All right, the next thing you have is passenger lounge. Now you can transport passengers, not just goods. You have to have a special type of cargo bay called a passenger bay, I believe, which I'll go into that in a second. Um, and basically you can, depending on the level of your ship or the amount of cargo bay or passenger bays you have in your ship and the type, because certain passengers want a higher end or first class. That's in quotation marks, first class. You have to imagine me doing the quotation marks because I haven't figured out how to do a camera in my videos yet. Um, but anyway, but they tend to pay out better. And then you have other stipulations, which I'll go into that in a different tutorial, of course. Then you have contacts. Now, what you can do if you like doing combat, in addition to those missions, you can do combat outside of that. You can go to resource extraction sites or to the nav beacons of places, and there's other places you can go to, and you can run around and search for uh, what we call not hostile but wanted enemies, enemies that have bounties on them. As long as you wait for it to scan and it shows up, there's a little information screen which I'll cover in a tutorial where it says, wanted or bounty. Once you scan them, then you can attack them, or you can follow around security vessels and attack who they attack. Once you scan, you have to scan. If you don't let it scan, even if they're wanted, it will cause you to get a bounty because you attacked someone that you didn't know was wanted. So you have to be careful on that. But what you can do is you can come into this authority contact and you can sell bounties to this person. Then you also have combat bonds, which you have to, this is a whole separate combat thing as well. This is basically in conflict zones where you go in, you pick a side, and you help take out the other side. And you come in and you can trade those in. I really haven't done a lot of those. I tend to do the bounties just because recently they did, well, not recently, they did an update a while ago that made the bounties much cheaper. And the combat bonds, unless you have a pretty well outfitted ship, you can get targeted and taken out very quickly. And then search and rescue, I really have never done search and rescue. I honestly have to admit that. So we'll have to kind of check that out together. And then the next thing we have is exploration. So this is one of the really great things about the game is the exploration mechanics of it. Basically, it is the entire Milky Way galaxy. So you can go anywhere. You can go all the way to uh, what is the black hole? Sagittarius, the black hole at the center of our Milky Way galaxy, which is really cool. And as the game developers have tried to at least to some extent, when there's new information found about systems, they try to make sure that they update in the game to where it is very similar to what the astronomers have found. This has, the nebulas, it has the asteroid belts and stuff like that. So it's a really cool feature that you can just run around exploring. You just have to make sure your ship is outfitted right if you want to go outside the bubble where you can get the most money for your troubles. But anyway, next we can go into, of course, the big thing about this game is your ship. So you got multiple different ships, and you have multiple different types of ships, depending on what you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to do just kind of some good all-around general stuff, Sidewinder works okay, but we're actually going to want to go for an upgrade pretty soon, as soon as we have enough money. You want to do combat? An Eagle's a good choice to upgrade. Although, there's one good all-arounder that I prefer called a Cobra. That is what we're going to actually go for. You want to do trading or hauling missions? Well, you've got a hauler. And then the Adder. This is kind of one of the general purpose exploration ships that you can get. You can do a few different things. You can actually do mining with this. In my main account, I did a little bit of mining with it. It's a little bit low on the cargo space, so the hauler works a little bit better for mining. But this is another good option if you want to haul or if you want to explore. It's okay with combat. It's not great. The Eagle and the Cobra are much better at it, especially once you get them uh, outfitted properly. But it's a good option. And then the last one at this station is the Viper. Now, as you can see, there's different stats depending on what you're doing. And if you notice, like on this adder, you have this ability called multi-crew ship. So what this allows is one of your friends to join you, or clan mates, or if you've joined a clan, or I forgot what they call them, alliance, I think in this one, or federation. So that allows you for them to join you, and they can either use your weapons, or if you're in a big enough ship, fly your fighter. You also have the ability to get an AI fighter or AI pilot to fly your fighters, but it's a great way to play with friends, and especially if you have a friend that's been playing a while and has a bigger ship, you can actually multi-crew with them, and you get a portion of the money they earn. It doesn't take away from them, it just gives you straight money, so it's a great way to get a little bit of money really early to kind of give you a boost to get that next ship and outfit that ship properly. All right, and then the other things you can see, of course, are top speed and boost speed. Now these refer to when you're in standard flight mode. This is not your super cruise. This isn't your jumping between systems. This is when you're out in the world and there's other ships around. Maneuverability, of course, this one has a 4 out of, I believe it's 10. So this is kind of one of the better options as far as maneuverability goes. If we go over to the Sidewinder, as you can see, this one's a little bit more maneuverable. It's a 6. So that means it can turn faster. You can flip a 180 better, especially if you're using a specialized feature called Flight Assist Off. We'll go into that in a later tutorial. And then, of course, next we have what is called FSD. Now, this is your frame shift drive. This is what controls how far you can jump between systems. You have two different numbers. You have laden, which is if you have a cargo hold full of stuff, and you have a full fuel tank, because fuel does actually weigh yeah, have some weight to it. So if you actually have a lower fuel tank, you can jump further. You just have to make sure wherever you're going, either you can refuel there or you can use what's called a fuel scoop, which I'll go into later. Then we have the FSD unladen. So this is if you have an empty cargo hold and you have um, a very low fuel, probably about half fuel and down, you'll get really close to that. Next you have, now these, the shields, you can kind of ignore. That's just the base shield it has, but you can buy different levels of shields and different sizes of shields. So that can either go up, or you can actually take your shields off if you spec a lot more into armor. Now this is the base armor, so that's basically as low as it can go. You can modify it and get better versions of it depending on what you want to do. But for most ships, I pretty much just do upgrade the shields, leave the armor as it is, or maybe go up one class just to give myself a little bit more survivability. Of course, as you go up, these numbers will go up as well. If you get to a medium or a large ship, of course they will be larger. Hull mass. Now, this is what I was talking to about weight. So based on the how much mass you have versus the level of frame shift drive you have, that's what determines how fast or how far you can jump. But it also determines your top speed and boost speed based on your thrusters as well, because your thrusters have a certain optimum weight that help you to boost and whatnot. And then cargo capacity. Now this is default. We can change this based on what internals we put in. Hard points, this will give you a little information on what you can equip. This one has 2 pulse lasers, so that means we have 2 1 class slots. If this was a 2 class slot but with a 1 class starter weapon, it would say class 2 slot out next to it as well, which actually I think some of the other ships will show that. Um, Somewhere. We may not have one that actually does that. Maybe it doesn't, because I want to say this has 2 mediums. Okay, anyway, the next thing we have is utility mounts. Those are going to be like your shield boosters, your chaff launchers, or chafe launchers, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. The things that help protect you from enemies. Basically, it shoots out this little heat target that will make it to where the enemies can't target you as well. This is also where like your kill warrant scanner, which we'll get into with bounties and combat, and stuff like that. So it's those extra little things that aren't weapons, but are useful for depending on what you are doing in the game. Next we have optional internals. This is where you have uh, your scanners, your flight assist, like your super cruise assist, and your advanced docking computers, stuff like that. Your shield generator falls under this. Cargo racks. What else do we have? Refineries if you're mining. Passenger cabins. So this kind of gives you an idea of how many of those it has and the size. And of course, you pretty much always start off with E-based stuff. So you can always upgrade depending on what you're trying to do. It will depend on what you need. And then next we have the core internals. Now this is what gives the ship its characteristics. You always start off with the lightweight alloys. That's your hull, so your armor. And then you have your power plant, which provides how much energy you have. Typically, you always want to go with A if possible, but you can, depending on your outfitting, even step down from, like this one says 3E, we could actually step down to like a 2A if we wanted to save some weight or have better power, but not as much weight. Thrusters, that's what gives you your in standard mode speed and boost speed. Frame shift drive, of course, that is what allows you to jump further. The larger this is, based on your mass. Oh, hold on. That was a telemarketer. Um, and we'll go into that a little bit more later in a different tutorial. But that's basically what gives you your distance, life support. So if your canopy or your hull is completely breached, but you're not blown up, your life support is what allows you so many minutes before your oxygen is completely lost. So that is what determines how many minutes you have. I think the default is like either 2 or 5 minutes, and then it goes up in, I think, 5 minute increments. So you can get like a max of 25 minutes, which that seems like a long time, but depending on where you're at and if you don't have repair limpets, then, or is it repair limpets or there's something else? There's a something automated repair thing. Although I don't know if those can repair a canopy. Anyway, um, if 25 minutes if you're way outside the bubble, pretty much a death sentence unless you can get to a station. Power distributor. This basically determines how many pips, as at least that's what we call it in Elite Dangerous, you have, or how fast they recharge. So the higher the level of the power distributor, the faster your weapon energy, your systems energy, which is shields and scanning and stuff, and then your engine's energy. Because every time you boost, you use power from your, power from your engine, um, whatever you call it, bar. And then also those pips, depending on how you have them allocated, will affect how quickly your weapons charge and whatnot like that. Next we have sensors. This basically just determines how far your sensors can scan stuff and how far you can see. And then finally your fuel tank. You can't really change fuel tanks unless you want to go, I think you can go down sizes if you wanted to, but I pretty much always just leave the default what's there. And then the livery, of course, that's just the default livery. Alright, so that kind of gives you a basic idea of the game. Um, you also have outfitting in this, which if you remember all those little things we were talking about just now, hard points are going to be your weapons, utility mounts, core internals, optional internals. Livery is your the paint job basically of your ship and like weapon colors and stuff like that. And stored modules. If you have modules you want to take from one ship and put on another one, you can store them and then transfer them over when you hop into the other ship. Basically, you have the ability to have unlimited ships, but you pretty much want to, at least starting off, only have one or two because it's not very cheap to keep multiple ships fully outfitted. But let's go into this. So basically, if you're wanting to upgrade your ship, which I only have $1,000 right now, so I can't really do much with it, but if you click on this, like power plant, say I want to upgrade that, you click on Browse Shop, it gives me what I have and what the station has available. Now, depending on the station, other ones will have more options available, and then also it is limited down to how what size I have and what can fit into this. So if I had a Class 3, it would show both Class 3 and Class 2 if available. Class 4 would show 4, 3, and 2, and so on and so forth. Right now we can't really upgrade anything because we have no money. Alright, and the only other thing we have is livery, which, of course, since this is a side account, I don't have anything unlocked. You can gain what are called arcs, basically by just playing the game. I think it's a max of 400 per week. And of course, you can use real money to purchase arcs if you really want to. But you can change stuff, which I don't think I have anything. Although, yeah, I do have one paint job. So, we can use that. Decals, on this ship there's only one. Of course I don't have anything unlocked because you'd have to pay money for it. And then also you can, depending on your ranks, because you have ranks in trading, exploration, combat, and so forth, you can put those on your ship as well to display what type of pilot you are. Ship kits, these once again cost money, or arcs. But they can kind of give your ship, especially if you're playing with your friends, it can give it a special look. As you can see, if I mouse over them, it gives you a little bit more, a more unique, customized ship. Identification, here's where you can put the names of your stuff, which I thought these were free. Apparently not anymore. Or maybe I've had the game so long and I purchased them very long ago. Okay, apparently you cannot get those for free anymore. Well, anyway, if you want to save up some mark, then you can have some special nameplates on the sides of your ship and whatnot. And then, of course, your cockpit accessories. I don't think you get anything for free here. Does not look like it. But basically, these are kind of like your bobbleheads, stuff like that, and then string lights if you want to have lights. But yeah, so that is the basics of outfitting your ship. So that is the basics of the general game before you actually take flight anywhere. Um, but yeah, that is a good starting point, and we'll probably pick this up next episode, and we'll actually do some missions in order to gain some money and try to get an upgraded ship. So this is Meriden Gaming. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments down in the comments section. Like I said, I have been playing this for quite a while, so I do have a bit of knowledge about most things, um, whatever you call it, Elite Dangerous. And then if you have specific tutorials you want to see first, let me know. I'll probably just go with general missions first, making a little bit of money, and then we'll do combat, trading, um, mining, and like planetary stuff as well. But yeah, so this is Meriden Gaming, and I'll. Oh, nope, trying to get the thing. Hold on. Where's my camera? Nope, not that camera. There we go. This is Meriden Gaming, and I'll see you in outer space.